Okay, this is from Cobain Grunge, 94. I wish that was the real Kurt Cobain, right? Hi, Shane. My name's David Holmes. Hey, David. I've always wondered what do you think you would have done had you stayed in ECW in 99 instead of going to WCW? Do you think you'd have another title run, reform the Triple Threat? On a personal note, rewatching your matches and shoot interviews have helped me through some dark periods, but helping me forget what was going on at that time. Thank you very much. Brother, thank you for saying that. I had one time, and I love always being educated by the fans. I had said in an interview years ago, something along the lines of, like, in the overall scheme of the cosmos, what we do in wrestling is not that important. I mean, we're not curing cancer. We're not trying to find endless, unlimited, safe energy. In the overall pantheon, it's just not really all that important. And boy, I started going to live events after doing that interview, and I started getting lectured by fans. And basically saying things like you did, David, like, hey, you helped me through a really tough time in my life. I was going through divorce. My parents just died. My dog died. I had a shit boss at work. Whatever. I had a bad medical diagnosis. And, these are the real day-to-day things that we all live through, right, that we all have to endure. And if you can make somebody forget about that for just 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, then I guess there is a value to it. I still think the cancer research is a little more important, but I will accept the fact that I was an idiot and never put on. And the odd thing about that is when I met Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons, that was exactly what I told them. I was in a really crappy situation with a stepfather, and I would go into my basement and just crank my music, and it got me through all that. I don't want to get too dark with it, but there were times that I was figuring out how to really hurt him. And listening to Kiss, just about rock and roll all night. And, even I Was Made for Loving You. They're both downloaded to blow your mind out, right? Download I Was Made for Loving You. So I take it and understand what we did in this business. So thankfully, I'm glad to hear that you're past your dark point. And always remember, for everybody out there listening, I don't want to sound like the corny philosopher here or anything, but no matter how dark it is or how dim the world can seem it to all of us at times, there's something good right around the corner. You just got to wait it out and get to it, And if you dwell on just the negative, it's easy to keep yourself into that self-fulfilling prophecy. I could complain about a million things, but again, just being real with myself, I have been given the opportunity by you fans to live out this dream and to allow me to never go to work any day in the 43 years I've been in this business. That's not to say that it wasn't hard, those matches at times, or the travel or whatever. But my God, one time we were in Buffalo, New York. We had to go to Rochester for TV taping that night. We'd all gone to the Gold's Gym. It was me, Davey Boy Smith, Animal, and I think Brian Pillman. And we jumped over to the Gold's Gym real quick to get a workout a couple miles from our hotel. And the whole workout, we're bitching and we're bitching and we're bitching. Vince is home in his bed tonight. We're going to freeze our asses up here. They're getting like 19 feet of snow or whatever in Buffalo. And we're just going on and on and on, bitching. We come out of the thing. We have to go back to the hotel, get showered, and get in the car. And we pull up to this red light, and it's like right now. It's middle of winter, snow blowing, freezing cold. And there's a guy right at the red light with a jackhammer. He's all bumped up here. And we all four at the same exact moment shut up and went. And the light turns green. I went, yeah, I'll take the Rochester trip. Because it can always get worse, right? That Rochester trip sounds a whole lot easier than what that guy's doing. So a little perspective puts it always in the best line of sight. And it's really easy to become a complainer all the time. In our business, what they're going to complain. That's my first partner, Davey Haskins. Do you remember UWF when we went there and running the roads? Do you remember it as being hard? He said, what do you mean? I said, was it arduous, having to drive? Some of those nights were 14, 15-hour drives, and you were it seemed like that ass was growing, and that car was growing out of your ass. And he said, nah, exact answer. Good old boy from Tennessee said, nah, man, we were running up and down the roads with guys we loved and living our dream. And I thought, that's a pretty good way to put it, right? Because so few get the opportunity to do that. As somebody who's been blessed to have the opportunity, I, from the bottom of my heart, sincerely thank everybody for watching, finding whatever value you found in the franchise or Shane Douglas characters. Because if you didn't watch, I wouldn't be sitting here right now with my feet freezing in front of a heater and answering questions that you guys have taken the time to write up and send in. So, man, thank you guys so much. It's humbling. It really is. I honestly, I don't think I could have stayed in ECW past 99. The reason being, there was just a reality to ECW. And the reality of ECW was not having that billion-dollar corporation behind us, or that, say, Tesla or Jeff Bezos type money behind us. It was just a numbers game at a certain point. Every 3 weeks, one of the little-known sub-facts about ECW is that we were always less than 3 weeks away from insolvency. If that arena, by the middle of 94, it started consistently selling out. If any time between that and the end, the 7 years from, say, 93 to 2001, if at any point along that line, that arena was half full or a third full, that might have been the last week for ECW. Yeah, I'm sure Todd could probably scrape some money together, or Paul's dad or whatever, but there was an urgency that was always there in ECW. We could never go, hey, great show tonight, guys. We've made it. We're good. It was never that. We were always, okay, that was a good show. Now we're going to try to do it again tomorrow or next week. And we were, as pressure and tense as that could sound, for me it was exhilarating. Exhilarating in the sense that, no, I would love to have had $100 million in the bank. But as the main event guy, you're always worried if the house starts to slough off or whatever because you take the blame. There was an exhilaration to the fact that we couldn't just wing it or just take it for granted. And that held my toes to the fire. I mean, I took that role very seriously in the main event spot, because I was worried that if it ends up bellying up like it almost assuredly is going to do, you don't want to be the guy that gets blamed for it. And I look at that dressing room, I look at the talent in that dressing room and how it progressed and learned, and then the stuff that we achieved as a group. The iconic early moments, Tommy Dreamer taking the 10 cane shots, that was so brutal by standards up to that point. That got Tommy over more than any pinfall win over any opponent could have ever gotten him over. It showed that up to that point, those fans saw him as a pretty boy. I mean, let's face it, Philadelphia, tough town, right? They saw Tommy as a pretty boy in the sequin, suspenders and everything. And Tommy used to, I don't know what happened, but he used to be a good-looking kid. So beating Shane Douglas 18 times in the middle of the ring would have helped him a bit, but it wouldn't have gotten him over like those cane shots did. Those cane shots proved to that audience, that kid's way more than a pretty boy. There's more there than just that. And through it all, you saw that constantly. When I first got there and Sammy had that silly surfer gimmick, didn't look anything like a surfer, not the greatest ring skills. And then I see his entrance. Fuck. Man, that's entertaining. And as you guys all know, there was a time when Sandman and Hack and I did not get along. And we've become best of friends now. He'll still tell me, I hate his guts, he's a fucking asshole. And I say the same thing about him back. But we love each other now, we're like brothers, and we crack up when we're together. Because, again, I think he realized that, I brought something to the table for ECW. And I begrudgingly, slowly allowed myself to open my eyes and go, okay, I get it. Yeah, he definitely brings something to the table. And he was the everyman in the locker room. Everybody in that dressing room could see themselves in Hack, and Hack was one of them. He couldn't walk out and sit down in that audience and fit right in, right? He looked like them, talked like them, walked like them, acted like them, and they loved him for it. And he had the coolest fucking wrestling entrance in wrestling history. That's a plus. That's an asset for the company. So yeah, we had a lot of negatives, a lot of demerits, a lot of debits on the accounting list, but we also had an untested, very talented, largely unknown locker room that, by and large, said, you know what, we're all going to push together, we're all going to pull together, we're going to make this thing work. And just drop one last comment into that. We also had a secret weapon. The secret weapon was a wrestler named Sabu. I'd never seen anything like him before. I'd seen luchadors and I'd seen high-flying guys and moonsault guys and all that before. I'd never seen anybody sell their own moves like Sabu did. Because if you think about it, if it's the old Bill Watts thing, if it were real, if you jumped 15 feet into the air with a steel chair under your ass and landed on my head, yes, it would hurt me, but wouldn't that hurt you too? Of course it would. It hurt like hell. Landed on a steel chair from 15 feet in the air. Only Sabu. It took all those years over. I'm sure others earlier than him did some of their unselling and stuff, but Sabu did it off those moves that you'd never seen before, and it was just like, whoa, man! Like I can't believe I didn't come up with that. That's brilliant. And my God, we say Sabu today, and we all know him as that massive transformative talent that he was. But he wasn't that when he was Terry Brunk. And there was no guarantee. Peace Inertia wasn't that until he was Taz. Shane Douglas wasn't that till he was the franchise. Terry Funk wasn't that till he was the hombre, right? Terry Funk. The legend Terry Funk. And just one more sidebar about Funker. I'm a little bit older than him now than when he won the title for the first time in ECW. I have no clue at all how he was able to perform at that level, at that age. That concrete floor hurt. It hurt me at 30. It hurt Mikey at 20. It hurt pretty much anybody else that was in that building. But Terry Funk would get it. The one time we were on the floor was me and Brian Lee versus Tommy and Terry. And me and Brian and Tommy are fighting on the thing there, and there goes Terry climbing up the turnbuckle. And I'm thinking, he's not going to moonsault. And sure enough, boom, here he comes. And as he jumped off and started doing his backflip, his body went, and it grew like 18 feet long. So as we're adjusted trying to catch him, we ended up catching him like from the waist down, like from this portion of his body. And the top of his body came swinging down, and his head hit the concrete, and it sounded like a bowling ball being dropped out of the crow's nest. And I thought, like South Park, oh my God, we killed Kenny. Oh my God, we killed Funker. And he got up right at me, you stupid motherfuckers. Beating the shit out of all three of us, including his own partner. He was tough as nails. And I don't know how he was doing at that age. So enough said about that. Little train that could.